What's up, YouTube? Benji here with Vaporwave in Ottawa. We get a lot of customers coming into the shop that have received misinformation or poor advice from untrustworthy sources. Our goal with these videos is to give you some vape info with knowledge gained firsthand from testing products and working in the industry for over 6 years. With that said, let's get into today's topic. Nicotine. What is nicotine? Nicotine is a chemical that's naturally produced in varying concentrations in plants of the nightshade family. This includes red peppers, eggplant, tomatoes, and you guessed it, tobacco. While by itself, nicotine isn't known to be excessively harmful. It is an addictive stimulant that elevates your heart rate, blood pressure, glucose levels, and has other varying effects on different people. Everyone's body is different in how substances are processed, but generally one of the bigger concerns when using high concentrations of nicotine become the cardiac risks. People taking in high doses of nicotine on a regular basis put themselves at much higher risk of heart failure or other issues pertaining to the cardiovascular system. Oftentimes, people who are new to vaping have a hard time deciding what nicotine strength is right for them. Many people have a concern of going too high and increasing their tolerance to nicotine while they're trying to quit. When deciding what strength of nicotine is appropriate for you, one of the biggest influencing factors is the harshness. More frequent smokers usually need a slightly higher nicotine strength to feel satisfied with the effect of the throat hit that nicotine provides. The higher the nicotine, the harsher the throat hit you can expect. You can find e-liquid with or without nicotine, but nicotine liquids come in different forms ranging in strength between 3 and 60 milligrams per milliliter of liquid. But we'll get a little bit more in depth with that in a minute. Infrequent smokers will usually want to start with lower nicotine levels available and increase if they find that it's not satisfying. More frequent smokers may find themselves starting at a mid-range strength or even higher right away to find it effective. If you're a heavy smoker and you try a low nicotine strength, it's possible it might just feel like you're puffing on air. If you've tried an e-cigarette and it was either too light or too harsh, it's quite often a deterrent from people going back and trying again with a different nicotine strength, and many people would just go back to smoking traditional cigarettes. If you've tried either too high or too low of a nicotine strength and didn't find it satisfying, don't feel discouraged. Try a slight increase or decrease in nicotine and see if it helps your experience. At the end of the day, if your goal is to quit smoking, an e-cigarette can be a very effective tool in transitioning you away from traditional cigarettes. Not every device, flavor, or nicotine strength will work for everyone. Hopefully you can take away some helpful information from this video so you can make an educated decision on what type and strength of nicotine best suits you. As if vaping wasn't complicated enough, now there's two different kinds of nicotine. The two forms of nicotine you'll encounter in the vaping industry are known as freebase and salt nicotine. One of the most frequent questions brought up in the shop is, what's the difference between freebase and salt? Freebase nicotine's been around since the start of vaping. It is typically found in lower concentrations, ranging from as low as 1.5 up to maybe 24 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter of liquid. It is slower absorbed into the body compared to salt nicotine. However, the effects are actually longer lasting in your system. Freebase nicotine can be found in different viscosities. However, it's most commonly sold at 70% vegetable glycerin and 30% propylene glycol. Freebase nicotine has the advantage of being lower in nicotine strength, so you really are getting less nicotine at a time while still getting an effective throat hit to help simulate that hit from a cigarette. However, most people find it to only be effective in more powerful direct-to-lung devices or almost anything running above 20 watts of power. As you usually need to take in a lot more vapor with low nicotine strengths to relieve that nicotine craving. Usually, people using bigger box mods or direct-to-lung devices tend to use the lowest nicotine strengths available, like 3 or 6 milligrams, but usually no higher than 12. Anything from 6 to 18 milligrams is usually more seen in weaker, sort of mouth-to-lung devices. If you don't want a big, powerful device giving you massive plumes of vapor, and you prefer a smaller, more discreet device that maybe doesn't give you a lingering smell in the room for as long, or maybe more portable as a pocket carry, you can absolutely use higher strengths of freebase nicotine and find it effective, but you may be more interested in salt nicotine. Salt nicotine is a game-changing option that became popular in the market about 3 years ago. It's the exact same extraction process as freebase nicotine, but then they add benzoic acid to make the nicotine feel smoother at higher strengths, and it helps it get into your bloodstream faster. Though the effects are shorter-lived in the system, the more instantaneous effect helps more closely mimic the sensation of a cigarette and is very popular for people transitioning from combustible cigarettes to vape. Salt nicotine usually ranges in strength between 10 and 60 milligrams per milliliter of liquid. Feeling about half the harshness at the same nicotine level compared to freebase, you can comfortably get away with using much higher strengths to encourage less frequent use. Because the strength is much higher, you'll need to use a lot less liquid at once to get the desired effects for both relieving the nicotine craving and experiencing a comfortable throat. If you think that salt nicotine is going to be the right fit for you, but you don't want to have to change coils or refill devices, disposables or closed pods might be a good option for you. Closed pods are small liquid chambers that come pre-filled and sealed with a coil built in. They dock into a device you purchase either separately or sometimes they come as a starter kit, depending on the brand. You recharge the device via a USB cable that's usually provided with the purchase. Examples of a closed pod system are going to be devices like a Stealth, a Juul, or a Vuse. Sometimes they come in varying nicotine levels, but one thing that isn't always made clear on the packaging is that 1.5, 3, and 5% is actually 15, 30, and 50 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter of liquid. People smoking 4 cigarettes a day don't need 5%. They should get plenty from 1.5 or 2%. Disposables are usually filled with salt nicotine in similar strengths. Some like the convenience of disposables, some like the cost effectiveness and reduced waste of refillable devices, but use what works best for you. Nicotine, whether vaped, consumed orally in a product like nicotine gum, or absorbed through the skin with something like a nicotine patch, can all pose a risk of nicotine poisoning with overexposure. Regardless of what device, bottle size, or nicotine strength, do the responsible thing. Keep your bottles of e-liquid and your e-cigarettes out of reach of pets, children, and only use nicotine e-liquid in e-cigarettes. It's not to be consumed orally or by other means. Anyways, that's most of what you would need to know to help you decide what nicotine form is right for you. But if you've already had a positive experience vaping, help your fellow vapers by dropping a comment below with what device you found helpful in your transition from cigarettes. Do you prefer Freebase or salt nicotine? How much were you smoking daily, and what strength did you find helpful? If you like the information you got from this video, give us a like. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to our channel to see future videos. Thanks for watching, Vaporwavers. We'll see you next time.